Salutations! This is Taylor with Game Domain, and today we're bringing you our first Halloween ranking video. Halloween is coming up in a few days, so before you go out with your friends trick-or-treating, eat a ridiculous amount of candy, or watch a scary movie, now you can watch us count down the top 10 spookiest video game characters. Now here's some info to clear up any confusion or any comments saying, "You forgot," or "Why'd you leave this person out?" We don't want to make this a list where everyone is from the same game or series, so we're going to include some games that maybe aren't as well known. And this isn't an objective list or anything. It is just some characters from games which members of the Game Domain team have played. So if you think there's a spooky character from a game maybe like Silent Hill, and there's no Silent Hill represented on here, that's most likely why. Also, this list won't be in a really organized order since spookiness is subjective, and we all disagree. Expect some spoilers for the following games. Number 10. The Moon, Majora's Mask. Now, the reason the moon is on here is obviously because of how it looks. It is a giant moon slowly falling to Earth, and it looks really creepy. But that isn't the only reason. A lot of it is due to the rest of the world. As you're in a hurry to complete the various tasks within the 3-day cycle, the moon will always be there watching you, inching closer. It adds a whole lot of uneasiness to the game, and as it gets closer, it's seen within the game how people react. There's plenty of in-depth videos you could watch about it, but just to simplify it, the residents of Termina will start to act different as the days go on. Many will be scared and then just accept what will happen and then lose hope, all because they know the moon will eventually be the demise of their home. The moon is one of the reasons why Majora's Mask is known for its atmosphere and sense of fear within the world. Number 9. Needles Kane, aka Sweet Tooth, Twisted Metal. He's crazy and drives an ice cream truck. As an alter ego, Marcus Kane, his story also varies within each game. In the 2012 version, he hunts down his daughter who escaped after he murdered the rest of his family. Overall, a pretty spooky guy, especially if you have coulrophobia. The problem here is his story/character change with each game, so it's hard to properly describe him other than a creepy clown with a machete. Number 8. Mr. X, Resident Evil 2. I don't really have a lot to say about Mr. X. He is mysterious, and there isn't a ton of info on him. That doesn't stop him from scaring you when you see him, though. His goal is to simply kill any remaining survivors in the Raccoon City Police Department. A seemingly invincible trenchcoat-wearing individual will just appear out of nowhere and chase after you. This really makes you look around every corner hoping he isn't there. And the fact that you never know when he'll show up makes you unprepared and more frantic when he finally does. Number 7. The Baker Family. Coming in at number 7 is not one character, but an entire family, the Baker family. They started off as a normal family in Louisiana, but everything changed when a little girl named Evelyn showed up on the bayou. Jack Baker, the father, found her and brought her out of the storm. Their lives would forever change after that. Evelyn is a human bioweapon with unknown origins. She used a type of mold to infect the Bakers and make them do really gruesome things. When you walk onto the property, you see a figure walk by only for him to seemingly disappear. You then go into the guest house for the first time. It seems like an abandoned old house with no signs of human life, but you find out that isn't the case. After searching around for a little bit, you find a secret tunnel in the fireplace that leads you to the basement. After finding your wife, Mia, Jack Baker shows up and takes her away. Now here's where the Baker family starts to get even spookier. After finding Mia again, she has a chainsaw and starts chasing you. Some gory things happen, and you wake up at a table with the entire Baker family. You see Jack, of course, his wife Marguerite, his son Lucas, his daughter Zoe, and a mysterious old woman in a wheelchair who you'll see in different places in the house. I could make an entire video explaining more unnerving things that all the Bakers do throughout the entire game, but I'll explain a little for each Baker. So of course there's Jack, who seemingly doesn't die, even after being cut in half, as he comes back as a giant monster thing in the swamp. Marguerite has these abilities where she throws bugs at you. Lucas, while physically seems pretty normal, is definitely not. He has these saw-like contraptions which you play through, and I don't want to give away the entire thing, but I'll just say Lucas also has 2 additional DLCs that focus around him. Then there is Zoe, who somehow is not spooky even after being infected for a couple years. And lastly, the old lady Evelyn. Anyone who has made it to the part of Resident Evil 7 where you're on the boat knows exactly what I'm talking about. Resident Evil 7 is a really great game that I'd recommend to anyone looking for a stress-inducing game where you never feel safe and always think a jump scare is behind the next corner. Did I mention this game is in VR? Yeah, try that out for a challenge. Number 6. Until Dawn, Dr. Hill. Now, Dr. Hill is different than the other entries on this list. He isn't a villain, and is a normal person. No superpowers or anything like that. He is just a psychiatrist who is in between chapters and asks you questions. What's so spooky about that, you may ask? Well, the developers of Until Dawn did a great job just making you uncomfortable in these scenes with him. He is very unnerving, and he starts to progressively change things. The room begins to look very different, and he asks you what you find scary. There isn't a lot more to say about it, but anyone that has played Until Dawn, you most likely know exactly what I'm talking about. Number 5. The Wall Rider, Outlast. Coming in at number 5, we have the big bad Wall Rider, also known as the Swarm. Wall Rider is the final antagonist of Outlast. What makes this thing so spooky is what it's made up of. It is literally a swarm of nanoscopic machines forming one towering, terrifying creature. It will chase you through the bloodied and messy halls of its lair, as you can do little to nothing but run from a dangerous and violent being that you can barely see, screaming and attacking at you with no remorse or regard for anything but to capture you. And like a swarm of insects, it'll slowly cloud around you and isolate you from the outside world. It ruthlessly pursues you in various chase scenes, leaving you to get caught and get face to face to its blank and unforgiving face. Number 4. Chris Walker, Outlast. Nicknamed Strong Fat, this chucker roams the halls of the asylum, killing anything and everything in its path. This big guy roams around big and bold, covered in worn out and leathery flesh, covered in the blood of God knows what. He brutally mutilates and tears apart his victims, and with his size and stature, you can do little to nothing but be his toy as he lifts you in the air and throws you around like a rag doll. Being fought by Walker is not only a terrifying sight, but it should fill you with a hopeless dread, knowing you can do nothing to fight the power of this monster, and that you are completely and utterly helpless to its will. Number 3. Stefano Valentini, Evil Within 2. Stefano is one of the major villains of this game, and he has a pretty lengthy backstory, unlike some of the other characters on this list. Born in Florence, Italy in 1985, he was a war photographer who lost an eye during the war. His descent into madness then ensued. He became obsessed with photographing the moment that someone died. He started murdering models and would commit gruesome acts of mutilation in an attempt for himself to make art. He later gets connected to STEM, and you see him pretty early on after being connected to STEM early yourself. You see him murder someone and try to hide only to knock down a painting and have to run away evading Stefano. Without saying everything that happens in the game, I'm sure most of you can tell why he is on this list. Number 2. Until Dawn, Wendigos, and Josh. Yes, another Until Dawn entry. This game is pretty spooky. Now, they are both very different, but they both have different reasons for being on the list. I'll start with Josh, since he is the less spookier of the two. A year after Josh's sister seemingly died after falling off a cliff after leaving a party at their house, Josh invites the friends back to his house on the snowy mountain to try to move past the incident. Except Josh has not moved past the incident himself. He dresses up as a killer and chases his friends after capturing Ashley and putting her in a saw-like contraption along with himself. I'll get to that in a moment. He gives Chris the option to either kill him or Ashley. However, it is rigged to kill Josh. Actually, it is a fake body, and Josh does not actually die, since he was the one who set it up. He did all of that as a prank to get back at them for supposedly causing his sister's death. What's even spookier than Josh is the Wendigos. Wendigos were people who consumed human flesh in the mountains in which the game takes place, many of whom were inmates at the sanitarium, and they are not creatures you want to mess with. They are fast, violent, and very strong. Try to steer clear of the Wendigos as much as you can. Number 1. Re-Deads, Legend of Zelda. I'm sure a lot of you who played Ocarina of Time as a kid have had their nightmares about these creatures. Their high-pitched shriek is enough to startle even the most pro of gamers. The scream causes Link to be frozen, while the Re-Dead latches onto Link and do whatever this is. Their appearance and sounds are creepy enough, but as you learn more about them, they only become creepier. While it isn't completely clear, it is speculated that they are basically zombies, corpses brought back to life to stop Link from saving the Kingdom of Hyrule. What did y'all think of this list? And what characters do you think are spooky in video games? We've tried to go with some of the lesser known characters to keep this list more unique, but there are plenty of more characters that could be on here. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, and join our Discord to chat with some of us and other Game Domain fans. And also, let us know if you're going trick-or-treating and what you plan to go as. Have a happy Halloween, everyone!